Louise Banks watches her daughter grow, laugh, mature. And as an incurable disease slowly takes her away. She wakes up, and as she walks to her lecture in the morning, she notices a strange hum in the air. At the university, the students are not listening to her, staring at their phone screens. When one of them asks to turn on the TV, Louise sees the breaking news. Mysterious alien objects have landed in different parts of the planet. At that moment, an alarm sounds at the university. Returning home, Louise feels the anxiety sweeping the world. There is chaos in the streets, airplanes patrol the sky, and the military takes control of the situation. People panic, not knowing what the 12 mysterious alien ships have arrived for. The next day, 2 military men knock on her house. One of them is Colonel Weber, and they need her help. He lets her listen to a recording, the muffled, low growling of a creature that seems to reside inside one of the objects. Louise declares that it is impossible to translate it without direct contact. Weber leaves. Later, after falling asleep in front of the television screen, she is awakened by the sound of propellers. A helicopter is hovering over her yard. Louise boards a military helicopter bound for Montana, where an operations center has already been deployed. Among the passengers is Dr. Ian Donnelly, a theoretical physicist with whom she is to work. During the flight, Weber explains to her the nature of the mission, to find out what these creatures are and what their purpose is. Once there, Louise undergoes strict security protocol and medical procedures. At the control center, she learns that they don't understand their language. Agent Halpern of the CIA reports that very little information has been obtained during the surveillance. Louise and Ian don heavy protective suits and head to the giant facility with their team. The capsule opens the entrance every 18 hours, allowing people to pass inside. 2 giant creatures with 7 limbs appear behind the glass. They are called heptapods. The first encounter is tense and ends inconclusively. Soon Louise suggests a new approach. If the aliens don't understand spoken language, perhaps they have a written language. During the next contact, she brings a blackboard and writes the word human on it. One of the heptapods extends a limb and creates a complex circular symbol in the air. Louise was right. After seeing the first successes, they are inspired. Meanwhile, world tensions are rising. Some countries, including China, are already considering aggressive action. Realizing that they need to act faster, Louise decides to take a risky step. During another meeting, she takes off her hazmat suit and steps forward. The team panics, but she assures them that everything is under control. She then places her palm on the glass. One of the heptapods repeats her gesture and contact is made. Seeing that it worked, Ian follows Louise's example as well and takes off his hazmat suit. He asks who they are, and in response the creatures display symbols of their names on the glass. They decide to call them Abaddon and Costello. After this encounter, she falls asleep and has a dream about her daughter. Upon waking, she feels a strange mixture of happiness and longing. The research continues. Until now, their intentions remain a mystery to humans. All that has been learned is that their language is nonlinear, devoid of the usual direction of time. Each word is a meaning expressed in a circle, simultaneously containing the beginning and the end of a thought. With each passing day, Louise penetrates more deeply into the structure of their language. Meanwhile, the world outside the camp is descending into chaos. Panic, looting, rioting. Tension in the military camp grows. Some soldiers begin to see the aliens as a threat and are ready to act first. On another night, Louise again dreams of her daughter. This time she is a teenager lying in a hospital room, her eyes full of sadness. Louise wants to say something important, but she wakes up. Jan, immersed in thought, discusses with her the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. If language shapes thinking, then immersion in another language can change the perception of reality. Louise thinks about it. Perhaps that's exactly what's happening to her. In the morning, they receive a report that satellites have intercepted General Shan's phone conversation. Louise tries to translate the phrase, but cannot understand the meaning of their words. The situation is escalating. China is mobilizing troops, followed by other countries. Time is running out. The team re-enters the capsule. Louise, concentrating, begins to compose logograms, carefully constructing a question. The heptapod's response is overwhelming. Offer weapons. Panic ensues in the control room. Weber and Agent Halpern are certain, this is a direct threat. Louise desperately objects, perhaps the aliens are unable to distinguish between a weapon and a tool. Ian adds, perhaps they're not offering weapons, but asking for them in exchange. But now fear clouds common sense. At the same moment comes disturbing news. China and Russia have received the same message and perceive it as a threat. They cut off communication with the other countries and go into autonomous mode. Inside the camp, tensions rise. A few soldiers, driven by fear, decide to act radically, They sneak boxes of explosives into the capsule. The timer is set. 10 minutes later it detonates. Louise and Ian, unaware of this, rush back to the heptapods, hoping to get an explanation. One of the conspirators tries to stop them, but lets them go at the last moment. Abbott and Costello hand over the new symbols. Louise asks, "Do you have something to offer humanity?" The heptapods answer, "Technology." At this point, Abbott starts tapping on the glass. He's trying to say something. At this point, Weber has already given the order to arrest the rebellious soldiers. But it's already too late. The bomb is about to explode. Costello suddenly fills the screen with hundreds of symbols at once. Louise is at a loss, but suddenly a new vision takes over her mind. She sees her daughter again, small, reaching out to her before going to sleep. In that instant, Abbott makes a decision. Heptapod forcefully pushes Louise and Ian out of the room, and at the same instant an explosion goes off. They fall unconscious in the hallway. When Louise comes to, she realizes that Abbott died saving them. Meanwhile, the situation becomes catastrophic. China officially declares war on the aliens and calls on other countries to do the same. But Louise and Ian don't give up. They continue to decipher. Eventually Ian notices a key symbol, one of the 12. Louise realizes that every object on Earth has received part of the same message, and only by putting it all together can they understand its meaning. But Agent Halpern says it's useless. Contact between the countries has been broken, and no one will share information. Louise decides to talk again, and the heptapod capsule is lowered to the ground. Louise steps inside, and a thick fog envelops her. She gasps, but after a moment her lungs adapt. Costello informs her that he has given them weapons and she must use them. Louisa doesn't understand. She asks what the heptapod's true purpose is. The answer shocks her. They have come to help humanity because in 3,000 years they themselves will need the help of humans. And in the same instant, an epiphany flashes through her mind. She sees her daughter again, but now she realizes that these are not memories, but visions of the future. Their language opens up time, and once you learn it, you begin to perceive time as they do, in a non-linear state to see what comes next. And then she realizes another truth. Ian is going to be her husband. But when he learns that their future daughter will die of a terminal illness, he leaves. The world is on the brink of war. China is preparing to strike. And then Louise recalls another vision, a future conversation with General Shang. In it, he says that 18 months ago, she called his private number and said something that changed his mind. Louise can't understand how she found the Chinese general's number. She sees the vision again in which the Chinese general shows her the number. Now Louise knows what to do. She steals a satellite phone and calls General Shan. The military orders her to stop talking or they will shoot her. But she is not going to stop, as she realizes that the fate of humanity depends on her actions. The general picks up the phone, but doesn't understand why he should believe the words of the American translator. At that moment, she tells the general his wife's dying words. She explains the purpose of the aliens' arrival and he agrees. China stops the attack. Other countries follow suit. Humanity unites. The capsules begin to rise into the sky, disappearing into the vastness of space. Louise and Ian stand side by side, watching their mysterious guests leave Earth. Louise is undaunted by the realization that the future is unchanging. She sees her daughter's life, her smile, her first steps, but also her terminal illness. She knows that Ian will leave her alone after her daughter's death. And yet she accepts it. She doesn't want to change anything. After all, every moment, both happy and tragic, makes life truly precious. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and put a like on the channel. See you soon.